Hi, this is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company. This is Sunday from the Sewing Room. Last week we talked about pillow shams for the Moody Bloom pattern or the Moody Bloom kit that I had showed you. And in the comment section below I have a link to get that panel and the 9 pillow shams. But I wanted to talk to you about the other ways that I did the pillows. So the first pillow I did, or actually this is like the 4th pillow I've done, it came with this as the sham or as the cover, and I simply quilted it. And then you will see on the back of here, I did do a zipper, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. And for this one, I didn't want a lot of fancy stuff, so I literally put my backing and my front together and stitched it so that it was on the outside, and I did a binding, and I will show you how to do that. This one was a little bigger one, and I liked the idea of a piping around that one. And this one too has a zipper back, and I will show you how to do that. And then the last one I'm going to show you, let me get this out of the way, is this beautiful panel. Had, you know, just this gorgeous swirl abstract look about it, but I thought it would be cool to be able to turn this around, so I made something that literally looks like an envelope, and it is also zippered. And I am going to show you how to do the zipper for all of these pillows by showing you how to do this pillow. Okay, the first pillow is really very simple. All I did was I took my quilted cover and my back and I measured it appropriately, and I will show you how to do that in the next couple of demos of the pillows. And then I just stitched it together on the outside so that the seam was out, just like you would make a quilt sandwich, except that you're not quilting through the back layer. And then I measured for a binding, and I put on a binding exactly how you would do a quilt. And for my purposes, so that I could get it done quickly, I simply machine stitched the binding down. You could, if you wanted to, stitch it down by hand. Okay, for this second pillow, I have my quilted top, and I decided to do a simple flange all the way around. And with this one, it also has, oh, I have it upside down. This also has a zippered back, but let me show you how I decided to do this flange. So the first thing I did was I measured the top of my quilt or my pillow sham, and you're simply going to decide how wide you would like that flange, and you have to times it how wide you want it finished, and then you have to times it by 2 and add your seam allowance times 2. So for instance, I put a 1/2 inch seam allowance on here, and I wanted my finish to be about 1.5 to 2 inches. So for this one, I made the width of this 3 inches, so that when I fold it in half, I have about 1.5 inches. Yep, no, yes, about 1.5 inches, sorry about that. And then by the time I get my 1/2 inch seam allowance in there, we're down to 1 inch. So this is super simple. So all you do is you measure the sides of your flange, and all you're going to do is lay these down just like this, all the way around and here, and your top and your bottom. And I pinned and I basted all the way around with using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Super simple. And then what I did was I took my back, laid it on top, and I will show you how to do that zippered back, and fold this out so that it will be all the way around, and then you're going to give yourself a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You will have your zipper in here. I'm going to show you how to do the zipper on the next pillow. Make sure that your zipper is open, turn it right side out, and that's how simple that is to have that pillow with the flange. Okay, for this last pillow, it's really the same method as the one before, except we're not doing a flange. What we are doing is this cute little envelope. And let me flip this open, and you can see there is a zipper in here, and this envelope flap just goes right over it. You kind of get a two-way pillow. I don't have a closure on here because I have this really big button, and the big button, the weight of it just holds it down nicely. So there's the front of it, and now I kind of have an option of doing either this side of the pillow or this side of the pillow, and I really like that option. But first, I'm going to show you how you're going to cut this envelope. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to measure your pillow sandwich. It's all quilted, and this one was 18 3/4 inches square. So in order to make that flap, and don't forget I like to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance on my pillow, so in order to make that flap, I need it to be an inch smaller. So I measured my flap to be 17 3/4 inches. And let me show you what that looks like. This is the back. So as you can see, this is 17 3/4 inches, which is exactly 1 inch smaller than my pillow, because I want to make sure that I have, that I don't sew my envelope into the seam allowance. The next thing I'm going to do is I wanted to measure down at least 4 inches. And I will show you that 4 inches. And I'm going to mark it with this Choco liner right here. So I'm going to go to 4 inches right here. And I like using the chalk because it's just a little roller, and I can see it and it will rub right off. So there's 4 inches there, and 1, 2, 3, 4 inches here. Just going to turn this way to find my 4 inches here. And I'm going to mark it 4 inches here. So I just want to double check that and make sure that that is the same that I did on this. And by the time I have it finished, you can see that's 3.5 inches. So with my seam allowance, that's correct. Now we have to figure out how to get that 45-degree line. So if you take your ruler, on your long ruler, you will see a 45-degree line right there. And all I did was I lined it up with the mark and the 45-degree line. I'm just going to finger press this and make sure that I am in the center. So I'm going to give this a little finger press crease. Make sure I'm in the center. So can you see, I don't know if you can see that on camera. Can you see that finger pressed crease right there? I'm going to line this up with my yellow chalk mark and my 45 degrees. And I'm really happy with that because I can see that my crease is 1/4 inch on the inside of where I am going to cut. And that is perfect because by the time we cut the other side, it will be a perfect point. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. This is 45 degrees. Okay, and then I'm not going to worry so much about the other side because all I'm going to do is fold this in half, turn this around, and I'm just going to lay this right on top, and I can see my edge of my fabric, and I'm going to cut that out as well. Now when I am all done, I should have a 1/2 inch at the bottom. So let me open that up for you so that you can see. and it's actually a little more than a 1/2 inch, but that is going to be just fine. And there is my envelope. Now I'm going to take this to my machine. I'm going to turn these right sides together. And I am going to stitch all the way around this. Okay, so I stitched a 1/4 inch all the way around my little envelope flap, and I turned it right side out and I pressed it. And to give it a more finished look, I did another stitch all the way around, an edge stitch around the outside. And this will make this look nice and finished. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do the zipper. So I don't want you to be afraid of zippers because they are so easy. I think they're kind of fun because they're like opening up a little gift, and inside you can put lots of things in your zipper pouch. So what I did here was I took a smaller piece because with this particular envelope, I want it to be towards the top, and I took a larger piece, and this is 18 3/4 inches wide, which is the same as my pillow top. Then what I've done is I have a 14-inch zipper here, and it's just color coordinated. What I did with the 14-inch zipper is I fold it in half so that the zipper tape is lined up edge to edge, and I gave it a finger press. And now what I'm doing is where that is finger pressed, I laid it down in the center, and I know that's the center because I finger pressed that too, face down. Then I took my yellow chalk and I marked here at the edge of where the end of the zipper is going to be. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just eyeball it. And I marked this at the edge too. And the reason that I did that is because I am going to sew from here to here to that yellow mark with a regular stitch at 2.5. Then I'm going to make the stitches larger, and I'm going to sew like a 3.5 from here to here where your zipper is. And then I'm going to change my stitches back to 2.5 from here to here. And I will get that done, and I will show you exactly what I did, and we'll show that to you. All right, so I am at my sewing machine, and I'm going to use a nice wide 5/8 inch seam allowance here. And this is what I was talking about. My sewing machine is set at the regular length of 2.5 millimeters, and I'm just going to start sewing. There's no need to back stitch because you're going to stitch right over that edge anyway. And I'm up to that yellow chalk line. Now I'm going to lengthen my stitches to about 3.5 so that it is easy to take out. And I'm going to continue down till I get to this chalk line. And now I am going to take this back down to 2.5, and I'm going to finish that up. All right, so now I have got that sewn, and now I have pressed that seam open. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to lay my zipper back down here, and remember that finger press, and we're going to line up those teeth and make sure that your zipper goes face down. It's got to go next to that seam. And I'm going to line up those teeth with that seam, and I'm going to pin this. I'm going to pin it here. Just helps it stay in place. Let me get that pinned. Come on, quit moving. There we go. And then I am going to pin it here. And I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and show you how to sew this. Okay, so now I have my zipper foot on, and I am placing it down on my zipper tape just to the bottom of where the zipper ends, but it's still on the tape. And I'm just going to start sewing, and I am going to back stitch here because I want that to be nice and secure, because when you open the zipper you don't want to tear out your stitches. Then once I get there to the end of the tape, I'm going to turn my zipper. I want to go back a stitch before I do that because I went a little too far. Okay, then I'm just going to pivot this, and the edge of my zipper foot is at the edge of the teeth of my zipper. And I'm going to take my pin out because you don't run over pins. Pins are pedestrians. We don't run them over. And I'm going to continue to sew all the way down and just keep lining this up with the seam. And I'm going to keep sewing all the way down. And then when I start getting close to the edge, I want to make sure that my pull of my zipper is tucked under. And I'm going to keep sewing. When I get to my pin, I am going to take it out. I'm also going to lift this up and move this down so that I can get past that zipper pull without making a lump. And I'm going to keep stitching till I'm past where the zipper pull goes. I'm going to lift my foot up and turn my zipper and my fabric all at the same time and stitch across. And again, I want to back stitch here, and I'm going to do that a couple times. I'm going to back stitch one more time until I get to the edge of the tape again. I'm going to pivot my fabric one more time until I am on the edge of that tape and start sewing down. Now, when I get close to that zipper pull again, you see how the zipper pull is up here? I'm just going to pull it past my foot. And now that zipper is closed again. And I'm going to keep sewing down to the edge of my zipper tape. I'm going to take a back stitch and then clip this thread. Now here's the really fun part. When I turn this over, do you remember my stitches where this is a little crooked? You'll do better. But remember where my stitches were big here? This is where we're going to get to stick our seam ripper in there. And because those stitches were big, we're just going to open that opening up for the zipper right to the edge. And there it is. There's your zipper. It's peeking through there, and you can just open that right up. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to now trim this so that it is exactly the same size as my pillow front, because I made this a little longer so that I would make sure that I had enough room to work with. All right, so now I'm ready to put the flap on the back of my pillow. What I've done is I've finger pressed and gave myself a crease in the center of the back of the pillow, and I've done the same thing on my pillow flap. And I am just going to simply line that up. See, here's my 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around, so when I put this on the pillow, I'm not going to catch the edge of my envelope in. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to edge stitch this and just baste it into place. All right, now I'm ready to put my pillow together. So I have basted this envelope flap onto the backing of my pillow, and I want to make sure that my zipper is open so that when we sew this together, we have a way to turn your pillow right side out. So I'm simply going to turn this over. I'm going to make sure that my flap is nice and flat. I'm going to pin it all the way around, and then I am going to stitch a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. All right, so I've sewn a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around this pillow. And then I've also clipped my corners. And here's the really fun part. We're now going to turn this right side out. So I'm just going to stick my hand in here, push out the corners. And you have created, literally in no time at all, and no pattern necessary, this really adorable envelope flap pillow. And let me get this one turned out. And because I made that flap a 1/2 inch or an inch smaller, it fit perfectly into that seam allowance. And I fold it down, and voila, we have the pillow. And then I'll just put my pretty button on there, and we have that gorgeous pillow on this side, and it's gorgeous on this side. Thanks for watching. This is Judy from Sunday from the Sewing Room. And if you like our tutorials, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.